Why, yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central. Our friends in Tobago and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good day to you. Yes, indeed, of course, the rich man don't care about the poor man. But put another way, of course, in the local context, that the rich must get richer. And whatever falls off the table, the scrums, the poor man or those who are less fortunate, those who are less powerful, those who have found themselves, of course, in impoverished circumstance, must pick up the scrums. Because according to Rowley, that is how the poor man will grow and develop. Whilst, of course, in practice, he gives the state resources, land, money, and access to money by the very state lands that was doled out, or put another way, doled out to song into, I think, inappropriate, but certainly that was given, that was stolen and of course given in the pretext that somehow these people worked for it, orchestrated, of course, by a regime, the PNM I'm talking about, a party I'm talking about, for too long in office, since 1956, has morphed and metamorphosized into a criminal enterprise. A criminal enterprise. Yes, see. So the rich man don't care about the poor man at all, especially when you have a regime like the PNM and their philosophical underpinning and their practical, operational ethos in government. Let's say that again, by Gypsy, of course. In himself, of course, I consider to be a traitor to the cause. But that being as it may, the music certainly, of course, spells out what the reality is in such circumstance.
If you were ever poor, then you know it more for sure. Anytime that the buck is passed, the poor man have to wait for last. It's a shame and disgrace the abuse the poor have to face, simply because the rich man don't care about the poor man. The middle class man don't care about the poor man, no. And the poor man can't afford to care about the poor man. Oh no, I say this land,
and indeed, of course, it was the late, of course, mighty Shadow who said what? That poverty is a what? Yes, is a sin, a shame, a disgrace. But in a particular context, because the poor, the Bible says, will always be with us. However, the same Bible says that we must rise above adversity, because I consider poverty to be a phase or a type of adversity. And of course, poverty is also comparative or relative. Relative to what? Relative to the people in Westmoreland, relative to having, of course, a Audi as opposed to maybe a wagon like mine. But I want to tell you that satisfaction is the greatest asset any human being could possess in a materialistic world. Or put another way, in a world where human invention designed to augment and to ameliorate and to improve the circumstances of the human being, whether it be advanced medicine for the health of the human being. And that finds itself, of course, in structures such as hospitals and medicines, such as, of course, that to treat with smallpox, diphtheria, and, of course, the tetanus injections, and the plethora of other inventions in terms of those who have dedicated themselves as human beings to the well-being and the health of the human species. That is what we are talking about. And therefore, to me, once you are satisfied, or once you can be satisfied, because I don't want satisfaction to be replaced with complacency. Wherever you are, you have a duty and responsibility to advance and to develop. And of course, the sky is the limit. And nobody must tell you that is enough, or that you would have been born into poverty and that you must remain in poverty. But once again, poverty itself is relative. Poverty is, of course, as far as I'm concerned, in the eyes of the beholder. And if it is that you are not satisfied with where you are, then you have the human spirit, the human motivation, the human aggressiveness to emerge, to climb out of that morass and or quagmire that you mentally have assessed as to where you are. Because there are those who are quite satisfied to be where they are, and some may call them poor, but as far as they're concerned, they're rich. You see, in the ecclesiastic field, in the field where people have committed themselves to ideological, what I consider to be ministry for the higher good and in service to the supreme being, poverty takes on a different complexion, a different perspective. And that in itself brings rewards to the individuals who are committed to satisfying the spiritual and higher needs and aspects of the human existence. What do I mean? On the one hand, it is hypocritical if a person engages, of course, in the pursuance of higher spiritual knowledge and higher spiritual acquisition, and to, of course, assist his fellow man so to do with his teachings, his writings, his utterances, his sermons, his preaching. And then you see that underneath all of that, or maybe ostentatiously, you're seeing wealth all around. And then they tell you, of course, you cannot go to heaven if you don't put something in the envelope that is marked for blue notes. Yes. So while there are those who are genuine, because at the same time you'll see in these small churches, persons will come, they have nothing, but they will ask the congregation to donate, contribute. Separate and apart from tithes, because tithes is supposed to, of course, assist, according to the Bible, to assist in the nourishment of the person that was ordained to deliver the spiritual knowledge, the spiritual food, and the enthusiasm and the will to continue and to satisfy the spiritual aspects of the winning of the soul, so to speak. And he, of course, has to eat physically like everybody else. He cannot pray himself to fill his stomach. There is a physical act that must take place and a biological process that will have to take place for him to remain alive like you and I. Let's not waste time. So I thought it was important, of course, to say to you, in essence, that poverty is not inevitable. Poverty is not a curse to those who are committed to understanding their circumstance and with their God-given knowledge and understanding and common sense would be able to emerge over time, of course, from that situation that they would have found themselves in, or put another way, born into, but would be given, of course, the education to suggest somehow, since they're born into that, they have to stay there. No, I don't believe that. I was born in Laventille, yes. And I understand the Laventille situation. And up to this day, it's considered to be, of course, a depressed, poverty-stricken community, East Port of Spain, Beetham notwithstanding. But I want to tell you, at one time, if it wasn't for vision, Beetham was shanty town. And there was mud streets. And when rain fall, and pigsty and pig feces would be here, there, and everywhere. And of course, the potential for disease would have been, of course, lurking on every dirt road. But a decision was made to upgrade, to put in housing accommodation with the appropriate plumbing and other sanitary facilities. Albeit today, when one looks at what is happening, you could believe that they are retrogressing. But if you understand the genesis, then of course you will have a different perspective. But let's go to the lights. A person, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox. How are you tonight?
Well, of course, I am being as philosophical as I can be,
Good.
while, of course, keeping my feet on the ground.
To get an ORTT award. What do you think?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I think he should, for speaking truth, huh?
Yes,
you talk
speaking
about
the
Ralph
truth.
Gonzalez. The
Yes.
truth is, Ralph Gonzalez is like a little dictator up there in St. Vincent.
Yeah.
And the people of St. Vincent, we don't read much about them, but when we talk to the locals who are here from St. Vincent, they all say the same story. They say St. Vincent is so beautiful. It's such a nice place, but it's so, it's like corrupted, that they don't have access just to many things we take for granted down here.
Yeah.
And when that volcano erupted, we saw what happened in St. Vincent. We saw people riding donkeys. We saw shacks worse than Trinidad. And I saw that. I don't know if anybody else saw that. And it made me realize that this Mr. Gonzalez has been there for decades. And nobody says nothing. And you know who's a creeping dictator coming up? Mia Motley. She keeps running for election too. They don't want to make a way for somebody else. Thank God we have people here in this country who really do vote. We have to get out and vote when we really care about the issues, and not pander to these funders, because when when they fund politicians, politicians will do whatever they want. So Ralph Gonsalves, that minister, that prime minister, needs to resign or retire. His brother is the treasury minister, finance, handling all the books of the country. Another relative has another high-level job in contracts. They are so connected to government that we sit idly by as a CARICOM and say that is okay. The reason why I bring this up is because you were talking about poverty and Laventille. And we have a beautiful history in Trinidad that is so rich it'll make you cry sometimes, of the struggles of our people who got here. But it's erased. And I think a lot of people still carry that shame, that burden on their back. And that's why we're living in poverty. Now, I say this because I don't know much about Laventille. My uncle, I have an aunt, my father's sister, married a guy in Laventille, and I have family up there. And they're very successful. And her husband was a mixed guy. He had Afro-Trini in him. And I remember growing up, and they would use the N-word, families and relatives. And it was like Laventille, and you know, because most Indian people lived in isolation in those days. I'm telling you, when colonialism ended, we were neglected severely by the PNM. And when Indians people went to the PNM, they never looked back. They kept moving forward and making money. And that's the sad thing. Can you hear me, Lennox?
Oh, yeah, loud and clear. I'm a very good listener, so
okay,
I do so in silence.
But what I'm saying is that I'm trying to make sense, you know, of everything that's happening around us, because we're in the midst of a war, and then something's happening in Congress with Epstein and Trump. But the people who run the government in America, not Trump, okay, who run and fund campaigns and who make money, the importers and exporters, the oil companies, they're telling the politicians what to do, and Trump is acting on their behalf, and they want Maduro out, and he's going to go out. And he has to. And they're sending a message to Cuba. Cuba has to have those sanctions lifted, don't they? We have a prime minister Mr. Rowley, who went to the UN and spoke about Cuba and Venezuela and pandering and standing behind the podium and preaching. I wasn't even listening to him. Such a stupid, meaningless speech. We are a democracy, and we want to trade with our partners. Now, either we agree that we have to come up with a definition of what a good democracy is. And if we like socialism and we want to embrace capitalism, can we do that together? That is what Mandami is doing in New York. He's a Democrat socialist. He believes that we should have childcare, good education, we should have technology, we should have jobs, we should do things with pride, we should love our country and love our community. But you see, the rich people who never look back, they want us to live like this, divided. So we don't know the history of our people. That's why we need to know Laventille. What is the history of Laventille? Well, who settled there first? Was it a guy named Laventille, a plantation owner? Who is that? Because I know that a lot of these communities were named after landowners and overseers and people who were connected to colonialism, very brutal people who killed many slaves. There was never a happy slave in Trinidad. You know what I'm talking about? Even indentured women were raped, Indian indentured women. That's why you see so many light-skinned Trinidadians, blue-eyed people. But we are such good lineage now that we want to rise up, and they won't give us a chance. So I say let us start learning about each community. Like, I wish I knew more about my history in my village, because Madras Road used to be where the Madrasi people lived, and they planted sugarcane for the estates, you know, and that's what they did. And my ancestors, my father's side came from this village, and Kelly village. I have relatives there, and Kelly's now a nightmare. We need to learn and respect our communities, and I think if we did that, you know, there'll be a sense of pride where you'll see all of a sudden our roads are good, people respect each other with noise, children can walk outside, and we have crime prevention because now we have a good community with jobs, people making money. Why would you turn to crime if you're doing well? Why would you want to run to America? You see, I say this because I do believe that this thing in Venezuela is real. And it's not coming lightly, people. We are going to be impacted. There were planes flying over today, several of them. in a different direction that don't normally fly in my area. And I said to myself, some of them might be drones. Oh, shoot. Because the airport is right here. You're starting a war. Well, the first thing you do is you destroy the airport so nobody lands and nobody leaves. So we got to be paying attention to this and have these talks and discussions about national pride and taking care of our own country and our own people. And Ralph Gonzalez, people like that should mind their own business and let us learn about our communities, our villages, who were the first people. Let's recognize it. Let's put signs up in villages so we could read. When you're driving in the villages, all these speed signs hiding behind bushes, this thing broken, that broken, because that's how they want us to live. They don't want us to read. They want us to ride on bad roads with potholes everywhere. Contractors making millions, they're hiring guys and they're not giving NIS anything because NIS is going to go broke. What would they say by 2025, right? We're in 2026, 27, it'll be flying. I'll be honest, we have to use this platform to take our people up, and I applaud you so much for always doing this every night. And you speak very well, and you try to, encourage others, and you even brought your son on. And even I was like, well, this kid should go to bed, But then, you're teaching your son values, and we need to learn that. I hate when people make comments. I go on the chat and they'll say, get off the phone, shut up, next. But they're not involving in a phone call. Yeah. And some people who do call, they'll insult other callers, call you stupid, and she need to go back there. That is so how they want you to behave and how they want you to think. And I love your show. I'll keep listening when I get time, at night. But I want to just thank you for giving me time on this platform. And I'm just saying, if we really want to learn and respect each other, we learn about our communities and let's write about it. Yeah. I think I might even write about my area too. There's a lot of history in my village. All right, Lennox, that was my comment, and I hope you tell us some more about Laventille, the people of Laventille, and what was it like growing up.
Yes. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. Of course, I'm delighted, one, and two, of course, motivated by that, of course, commentary on the subject. But I also want to say, having, of course, listened to you, and, of course, many other commentators, that, of course, If you do not understand your past, and especially where it would have been tedious, then you are doomed to repeat it. I thought I should just interject that. But a pleasant good night. Welcome, Mr. Diego Martin. Diego Martin, a pleasant good night. Hello? Diego Martin? We seem to get some kind of a disturbance. Seeing something coming up, but of course it's not as all right. Yeah, but you can call back, going once or going twice, going thrice. All right. So, Mr. Martin, call back. It appears that we're having some. I know that I don't have an audio problem. I'm seeing it on the system, but it appears that for you to come in, it seems to be a problem. So I am disconnecting, and you can call back. Of course, the number to call 337-6940, 337-6940. Let's go again. A pleasant good night. Welcome, Mr. Diego Martin.
Good night.
Yes, good night. Hearing you loud and clear. Are you hearing me loud and clear? Hello, loud and. I'm hearing you loud and clear. All right, she's going to try again. Let me check on my system to see, to make certain that we are on the same page, so to speak, because I don't think there is a challenge on my side. But of course, technology and the vicissitude thereof sometimes, of course, creates challenges that we are. All right. Okay, right. So let me think. I just got a note from, of course, the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. We did not have, as promised, as expected, I should say, the handing of instruments to our candidate, Mr. Robert Mitchell. It didn't happen today, but I just got a a note from the minister. She's saying that we are waiting to receive the instrument from the Ministry of Finance. So it appears that they didn't get it on time, even though, of course, tentative date was carded for today. Of course, a contingent of love supporters were there, of course, to treat with that matter, but unfortunately it didn't happen today. So they're waiting. So we are yet to confirm that and to get Mitchell working for and on behalf of the government. Let's say, are you hearing me?
Right. Good night.
Right.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night, my friend. Good night, my friend. Something is attempting to impede our communication, but I see tenacity is a value or a creature that human beings have, and they well, maybe I was preemptive because, of course, saying that and being optimistic momentarily, we have lost each other again. But call back, I see that at least things would have been improved in that you were able to speak, so we would have heard you. So clearly, that's an improvement. But in the meantime, of course, there are others, I'm sure, that would like to make their contribution. Yes, let's get that now. President, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Right. Good night. Good night. I hope
Right.
I have latched on to you because
yes, you are. You are here. Are you hearing me?
This is Diego Martin inside the house.
Right. Okay.
And a couple of issues I want to raise. Promise made, promise delivered. Reduction in crime, a significant reduction in crime. We are no longer in the 10 worst homicide rate. Now, if that is not evidence to show that when the PNM is in office, crime goes up, and when the UNC in office, the crime goes down. So, full stop, PNM has to take that and pin it as a badge on themselves. Now, I want to talk about this debacle with Gonzalez and his family. And I want to let people know this is much more than selling houses to him. Recently, there was a judgment in the courts where fiduciary responsibility was key to the pronouncement of the judge. And I believe this issue of giving one family 3 houses falls into that category because everything seems to be wrong with respect to due diligence, leaving BIR number, doing it after election, etc. So that falls squarely on the board of directors of AGC and the executive managers. And we have to understand that his son, as he rightly said in an interview in St. Vincent, one of the talk show program, he said his son is a businessman and he has the apartment and he's renting the apartment when he's not using it. So I want to know if that is the government policy under the PNM to sell apartments, AGC subsidized housing for people to rent it out. But more importantly, why I'm focusing on the due diligence, we must not let this pass, and it has to be regurgitated.
But
do you think,
Mr. Diego Martin?
2 years ago,
2023,
Victoria Keys.
He's not hearing me, people, so I cannot intervene. So go ahead.
A major police raid for an occupant who had a lot of guns and a lot of ammunition. I want to know if that is the due diligence we do to sell houses and apartments without due diligence. I'll go and have a nice night.
Yes, my friend, thank you very much. I just want to check to see whether or not we are having any challenge that might create, of course, the situation where I am hearing him, you are hearing him well, but he is not, we cannot reciprocate, if you want to call it that. All right, so he has made the point about, of course, due diligence, but I was going to ask the question, and of course I'm posing it to you as well out there. Due diligence mean that you would take all the precautions, if you want to call it that, but I think it is more procedural, based on the policy, to, of course, make certain, and whether it is contained in an affidavit, which in itself is part of the due diligence process, because the agency can easily defend themselves by saying, well, listen, we expect that the person will be true and will be honest, and therefore, if they produce an affidavit, which in itself is a legal instrument, and of course one that by any stretch of the imagination speaks to one's character. And character here means, of course, sense of right and wrong, and therefore, if that is deposited, then of course the institution responsible for the delivery, in this case, of course, of homes or houses, can say that their job was well done, or they did their part. So I was asking the question, if he could respond, if he's hearing me off air, or why he's not on the system, that whether it is due diligence in this case, or is it orchestrated manipulation for personal gains by friends or acquaintances, and therefore that is nestled in corruption. Because corruption is very specific, you know. Corruption is very specific. It is conscientious manipulation, utilization, undermining for personal gains. Conscious. If you're doing it unconsciously, well then of course you have an excuse and you have a defense. But when we see, of course, over 300 recusal in a single cabinet, over 500, I believe it is, recusal in a single cabinet, you could have no doubt. That is prima facie, on the face of it, prima facie evidence of a kind of collusion, a kind of conspiracy to infiltrate and to deplete for personal gains friends and family and acquaintances and those who they rather and prefer, because they simply have the office to gain unmerited wealth, unmerited access to resources for their own aggrandizement. It goes beyond what, of course, the legalists will call a kind of action utilizing, of course, the office that you hold to act ultra vires your responsibility, beyond your responsibility. That is called technically misfeasance. Misfeasance. You hold the office, like those ministers and the cabinet officials and those, and of course, in other arms of the government, whether it be state enterprises and others. And because you hold the office, you then proceed to engage in what I consider to be that conspicuous act of corruption as exemplified by over 500 recusals in a single cabinet. That is unprecedented. It is historical. It is probably a contender for the Guinness Book of Records. Yeah, nowhere in the world, whether it be a recognizable corrupt regime, that you would have had that kind of record, far less for in a democracy, in a Western state. Right here. Right here in this hemisphere. That is the epitome. Misfeasance. Of course, malfeasance is when, of course, you blatantly engage in criminal behavior, utilizing, of course, in this case, your office in order to generate for yourself, family, and acquaintances unmerited access to the exclusion of everybody else who may or may not be qualified. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hey, Lennox, good night.
Good night.
Hey, remember?
Yes, loud and clear, my friend.
Right. Lennox, we motto is forward ever, backward never. Not so?
Yes.
Why when Madras was called Judy talking about the past?
Should you talk about what?
Talking about the past.
The past? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you know, there's the saying that you have to know about your past if you have to know where you are and to go forward, because I mean you don't want to make the same mistakes. I suppose that's why. Go ahead. I just making some kind of rationality for her.
Like,
Yeah.
Tuesday, watch me.
Yeah.
Was she over the past? Was she only past more than me? And she always criticizing the colonials and Donald Trump and everybody.
I hear you.
And Indian people with blue eye. I never see a blue eye Indian people have little kind of green eye.
Yeah.
That time, no blue eye. We should be talking, and I had plenty in your Lennox, the way you mind.
All right. I mean that her experience might have been different, and take care. She have you, of course, had to rescind what you're saying because she may be blue-eyed, you know.
What blue eye,
You see what I mean? I don't know. I'm just giving her the benefit of the doubt.
but people go down when I just so that I know where people are, you know.
I hear you, my man. I hear you.
I know.
All right. Alaska off air.
Yeah, actually, I'm a blue eye.
All right, okay. Yeah, because she may well have a blue eye, you know, and I don't want to dispel that with in the absence of evidence. It would be speculation. Yeah.
I don't understand that, man.
All right. Okay. Well, I hear you, my friend.
Talk to she.
All right. Will do.
Ever.
Yeah. All right then.
I tell you that.
You have something else to add?
All I like is, was that for yourself in trouble?
I hear you, my friend. All right. Good
I'm
time.
glad you don't tell soon. Now look at what trouble you put yourself in.
Who's that?
But because
Oh, right. Yeah. Go ahead. Yes.
yeah, when you come on interview with camera,
Yeah.
camera wasn't
Oh,
telling
Ram
you.
Gonzalez, yeah. She did make some hint to that as well, yes. Yeah, he put himself, and of course, he may well lose the elections in St. Vincent as a consequence of that as well.
Because of that.
Yeah, fallout of that, yeah, because a lot of the underbelly, like the PNM, have been exposed. I mean, you're saying that it was a legitimate transaction, all of them, but the fact of the matter is that Rowley came and in attempt to defend him, he threw him further into the abyss. The abyss. Yeah, when he said that the UNC upgraded these facilities to cost about $2 million, and then of course he paid whether he or his proxies or his family paid far less than that. I think the closest is about 1.6 million. So it means therefore you have benefits or shortfall of about over $400,000. So and of course, given the total circumstance, one could only say that Rowley and them gave them that for some other favor and because of who they are. And that to me is corruption to the hilt. Yeah.
And after the election that happened, Lennox,
Yeah, and after the election, yes, I mean that was most despicable. I couldn't understand that at all. Why couldn't they wait for the new government and then purchase it, as they say, in the way that they claim they have purchased it?
but nobody who signed anything, they had no authority.
Yeah, of course.
Election, none of them.
Yeah. That merits some serious investigation. We have another caller coming in, so if you,
All right.
yeah, all right. So that's it. Yes, people. So yes, I agree with Mr. Tagarigua. The Gonzales have put themselves in a lot of hot water. They have jumped out of the frying pan and into the fire itself, so to speak, and they have gone down, of course, the abyss of no return, it appears. And of course, that has political connotations. Of course, the son, I think his name is Storm. I find that's a strange name, but I cannot be. Yes, I cannot be. I'm not the author of the names of the children, so I'm not christening them. But whether the name is a strange name, the fact of the matter is that he has claimed that he wants to, of course, he's just threatened to sue Anil Roberts in particular. I see that Senator Naked has weighed in on the matter as well. On Saturday, we will look at that if we can, because, Saturday is dedicated to the youths. I hope that we could launch the youth education program as well as the adult initiative maybe the following Sunday. We'll see how that works out, because, my mother always would say that, of course, human beings plan, but at the end of the day, it is the Almighty that, of course, determines whether those plans not just materialize, but when they materialize as well. So he has a role to play, because things may not be appropriate for the implementation thereof. But we are committed, and with the same spirit that would thwart your plans as a human being, is the same spirit will, of course, promote it in the fullness of time, so as to deliver to the people once, of course, it is in the sphere of human benefit. Altruistic, yes. Altruistic. And humane. That being as it may, tonight, of course, I have a video I want to share with you. Very interesting indeed. And for a very long time, I didn't think that there were people who could put together a situation that is really Trinidad and Tobago in all of its physical, in all of its economic, in all of its strategic, and you have to commend the people for it. Positioning, you see? You see, because we know that Trinidad and Tobago is strategic. It's a gateway, of course, to South America. It is not even Grenada. It's not St. Vincent, etc. They are a bit away, but we are almost attached to South America. And we are the most southern of the Caribbean islands. In addition to that, of course, we are just outside the hurricane belt, 10 to 11 degrees north of the equator, but just south of the hurricane belt. And therefore, we have a good port, a good climate conditions all year round. In fact, when a hurricane path is said to, of course, hitting the mid-Caribbean states from Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Barbados, Dominica, Antigua, and you go up the road to Jamaica, and even Cuba. Let's not waste time. Geographically, Cuba is part of the Caribbean. Puerto Rico. Yes, we we normally would, of course, look at Trinidad and Tobago as a safe haven. In fact, some people say that we are what? That even God is a Trini. That's so. We're going to be looking at that in a while. Let's go to the line because we give way, of course, all the time to the callers. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hello?
Yes, welcome to the corridor. Are you hearing me?
You hear me, Lennox? Your phone breaking up.
All right, talk, because I'm hearing you well, and I'm sure the callers are hearing you as well.
Hello?
Talk, because go ahead, talk. Say what you want to say.
Man.
All right, say what you want to say. Forget
yeah,
me. Go ahead and talk. Say what you want to say. Go ahead. All right, if you are hearing me, when you're calling, say what you have to say because my handset is not charged. I don't know if that is the problem. That's why I'm not getting a good reception. And when I check on the system itself, I'm not seeing any difficulty. Let me check again, just in case. In the meantime, of course, I am saying to you. Let me just check to make sure. Yeah, everything looking all right. Why am I getting this? Why I'm not getting your reception? All right, let me check one more thing to make certain. All right, let's go back to the line again. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night.
Lennox, you hear me now?
Yes. Go ahead. I'm hearing you. What's saying all the time?
Lennox.
Yes, go ahead.
Lennox.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm hearing you.
I'm thinking wrong, man.
All right, just all right. I see what the problem is. Just let me make sure.
Hello?
All right. What's happening here? Why am I? Yes, go ahead. Speak. All right. Messi. Speaker. All right, let me go over this one too. All right. Call back and let's see what's happening because I'm trying to correct the situation whilst I'm going on that I perceive to be the problem. Let's see audio device, right? Bam. 2. All right, okay. Communication 2. All right. And let me see if we use this one default and see what's happening. All right. Any caller, if you're hearing me, if I'm unable to respond to you, just speak, make your contribution. But let's go straight, of course, to the video that I promised that I will share with you about Trinidad and Tobago, and it is extremely enlightening because over the years. Pleasant good night. Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now. You hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Go ahead. I was always hearing you, just that you weren't hearing me. But go ahead.
I hear you.
All right, go ahead.
Lennox.
Go ahead. Yes.
What you need song system, man? What's going on?
All right.
Hello?
Oh boy, something is wrong here again.
Hello?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Yes. Go ahead. Talk.
You mute it, man.
All right, let me try again. Let me try something again. All right, let me try something again. What's happening here again? I'm not seeing it now. Wow. All right, let's start again. All right, let me go to the system. I'm going to WhatsApp now because only WhatsApp you can get us at. So let's make sure that that is functioning. Right, okay. All right, let's go again. Default, so I'm not going to use that one. I'll use this one. Samsung. Good, okay. Let's see. All right. Try again, callers, and see. Let's see what if we have corrected the issue. But let me go to that video. Let me go to that video. Let us not waste time. Let's go to that video. About Trinidad and Tobago people, and of course, you would.
What if everything you know about global power politics is a lie? What if, while the world is obsessed with wars in Europe and the Middle East, the most cunning and...
All right, let me pause there. Let me pause there and take the call. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night.
Yes, Lennox, I hear you. You hear me?
Yeah, hearing you, yes. Loud and clear.
Lennox, you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Anyway, I will make my contribution now. Lennox,
Yeah.
talking about, I've seen, Anil Roberts talking about you get sued from that guy.
Uh-huh.
And, Lennox, he take out all his, paperwork and let him know that they have all the evidence.
Uh-huh.
And that, yeah, here you know. Yeah, so,
Good. Okay.
yeah, so you have all the evidence to show him that you have his proof.
Right.
Now, I was looking at him because he showed him all, he have all the paperwork.
I have a copy of it as well.
Right. So it's nothing that they can do. What it is, you know, there was no wrong on that.
Yeah.
That's what. Anyway, Lennox, I know Mr. Takariga said don't talk about the past, but I'm going to tell you something.
Uh-huh.
You know, I agree with Madras with some things she was saying.
Okay.
And you know, Lennox, you talk about love and thing.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. When I was growing up, when I was, you know, a little child, my mother used to go Port of Spain all the time. I live in the south. I live in Sabaria.
Okay.
You know, so we used to go Port of Spain all the time, passing through the dump, real dump, and smelling really bad. Right. So they reach a long way. But I'm going to tell you something. Trinidad had passed through 2 oil boom.
Well, some say 4,
A lot
but
of
go ahead. Some say 4, but go ahead.
Some say 4, but it's 4. It's probably 4, 3 or 4. I can't recall.
Yeah.
If you think that's right, you're correct. Because let's say 4 oil boom. Okay. What at the time? How many people was living? 1.2 million, 1.3 million, 1.2 million.
Yeah.
Right? It was less, a lot less.
Of course, yes. Then.
So, not to say going back in the past, where is all that money going? And you have done not the plus you have the pitch lake. And we don't have to buy oil sand from it. We get oil sand too. And why is this road is so deteriorated? And we make them so much money. I live in Florida, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know what people live in Florida? You know what time Trinidad live in Florida?
Millions. But go ahead, yes.
Right? And how come you have 1 point something million and you have all this US dollars? Where all the money going to sell you? Who was in control? Eric William. When he take over from Texaco, I remember that well. Because I know when the Queen, remember Lennox, the Queen face was any dollar?
Remember what?
The Queen face was only $1.
Yeah. When we were still under colonial influence.
Colonial thing. And then when they buy over Texaco, right? And they take over and they start running, everything went downhill. You know? They didn't maintain that coal company that was in, not Point of Pierre, in Marbella side.
Yes, Point of Pierre, yes.
Right, Point of Pierre. right? Forever since I know what now it's you up, I pass there all the time, smelling that scenery.
Yeah.
And look, we're looking at it. But in my Texaco. All right?
Yeah.
Right. What I'm getting at. Nowadays now, Raleigh and them, all of them use the same strategy to drain the economy of the country and the money what they make.
Yeah.
They're doing the same thing. And nobody gave an account for it. You see where I'm going? You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
See, the past became what up, Mr. Takarico, I hope you're listening. The past became the present. It's the same thing they're doing. You see what I'm getting at, Lennox?
Oh, yeah. I'm formulating some thoughts while you are speaking, and you are indeed, of course, on the right track, one, and two, you are making some very salient points that has to be addressed on a national. Our leadership must, of course, be conscious of it, and that, of course, certain adjustments must be made in the overall interest of the development of the country equitably. Let me put it that way. Go ahead.
Right, Lennox. Right. Okay. Now, Kamala come in. Didn't have no money in treasury. Look what she taking the country. Look what she taking the country to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without
Which
money
should have been
here and
in
there all
that
about.
state? Which should have been in that futuristic state that was presented a long time ago. Not so?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Now you're coming to right?
Yes.
If she had that kind of money, if Kamala had that kind of money, you know what that country come by Dubai?
Yeah.
I'm serious. That would have been a little America. Think about it. I don't have a right to come here. We are living the life,
Yes.
but of greediness, greedy people. Right? Look what they do in the country. Look what they do. They don't care about you. They care about their own pocket and finances. And that's exactly what Raleigh was doing. He drained the treasury. He didn't do anything. He didn't put back anything in the HSC fund. He didn't do nothing. And everybody to start with freckle face and talking at your American money, Ghana money. You didn't put anything in the money, but you made money there. You didn't put any. This is a serious thing, Mr. Lennox.
Of course, and that is why I pay copious attention to these kinds of statements, because the level of consciousness of callers like yourself is so overwhelming and so amazing that no one, even the bloggers, and they, of course, will have to pause, even if they are infiltratory, what I consider be trolls, to try to deflect. The fact is that what you are saying is so pertinent for the overall development of the place and the true advancement of Trinidad and Tobago. You are a patriot in terms of your commitment and your understanding as to what was and what has to be done. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the younger generation grown up like your son has
Yes.
to know
Yeah.
what these people have done with this country.
Yeah.
You can't put that under the rug.
That's right. Unless you're doomed to
All right,
repeat
Mr.
it. Yeah.
Lennox.
Yeah. Okay then.
Don't
Thanks very
look,
much.
history repeats itself, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what's going on.
Yeah, you're quite right. You're quite right.
All right, Mr. Lennox, I hope
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
somebody in.
Yeah. While she was speaking, of course, I was putting some thoughts together because clearly it speaks to a group of individuals under a particular entity called the PNM that has managed the affairs of the country more than most.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night to you. Good night to you. I'll
Paula from
complete.
Library. I was just I just tuned into your program and I
Yes.
just was scrolling through the phone. I
Yes.
saw where Gonzal is taking the UNC government to court
Uh,
about his status,
yeah, well,
his ATC. No,
is he himself or his son? Because the last
his
thing I knew,
son.
his son, yes. Right, okay, good.
I sent
Yes.
you the clipping so you could take
Yeah.
a look at it.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it, today, in fact.
And they
And
want to, and they are bashing Anna Roberts.
yeah. Well, of course, he will be the, should I say, the targeted suspect. Because
But
he is the
listen to
bearer,
this.
he is the bearer of the news that was not
Right.
so salubrious to them. So therefore, you would expect that is human nature and that is a human situation. But of course, at the end of the day, the truth will prevail, and
That's right.
justice
And
will
you know,
ultimately triumph. Go ahead.
and you know that UNC have a good team of lawyers.
Oh yes.
So let them come. They'll be going down at noonday with guns down.
Well, did you hear the Honorable Prime Minister's response to those developments? Did you hear it?
No, I didn't.
All
I
right. Well,
didn't
let me tell you, because I'm sure that others would want to hear as well. She said two things. That one, of course, that Alan Roberts had a right to, of course, say what he said, with respect to the fact that after the elections, one of the Gonzales got approval for this, what I can say be luxury, but yet still subsidized. Trinidad and Tobago's taxpayers subsidize home facility, right? And the other thing is that, well, anybody, including the Gonzales, have a right to go to court. The court is there for everybody. So I thought that was very instructive. That really and truly, it is a sense of confidence that they have the evidence, and why not go to court? I challenge you, go to court, and let's see what's going to happen. Yeah. But he's not going to go to court, you know. You know why he won't go to court? Because there is an election in Venezuela, in St. Vincent now, and the threat of going to court may assist him politically, but in terms of actually going to court, he knows that of course that is a no-no. That is almost shooting yourself in both feet. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I know of someone who is diehard PNM. It's over 45 years the woman waiting for HC house. And this man can get through, and nobody else in this country can get through.
Yeah, well,
the woman working over 45 years.
As we said earlier, it is about corruption. It's about who know who. That is what transpired there, and that has been
Look, my daughter applying, and she waiting on, and she doing a good job. The child willing to pay for she unit, but she have to wait online.
Yeah.
But these people is just randomly picking up people from PNM. PNM real do corruption, and I can't wait to see some silver bracelets, boy.
Yes, man, silver bracelets and blue lights.
We have to have them bracelets shining, you know.
Of course.
Shining.
Very conspicuous. Yes.
Have it shining and
glittering
waiting for them.
in the sun and outside the sun.
Yeah, it have plenty water leaks. The roads bad down from south coming down straight down to point. The road well bad. It has Satawali. It have a contractor. This man has been fixing the same spot. You will fix the spot now, and next 2 days he come back to fix it again. What wrong? They're not looking into these kind of contractors.
But
The man digging the hole and making big hole.
They have a government in place now that will not countenance or accept mediocrity or slipshod work. I'm certain of it.
Look at
John is a
issue.
stickler for quality.
Look at next issue with over here in Ireland, with in Karen Cookie there, with the housing, with all these women who held against the and it's alleged Sanford and the police, all of them wasn't there. So I want to ask a question. Who is investigating the police and the army when they are in corruption? Who is watching over them?
Well, there's a song, Who Will Guard the Guard?
Right. And next thing too, I heard of a story, which is true. I won't call it area or whatever.
All right.
That this certain officer was involved, in illegal things or whatever, or whatever, make the deal with the so-called drug man or whatever, and the man taking people drug money and open my big laundromat. Little to the run, his life was threatened or whatever, etc. extra, and the talk was in there wrong that there's a transport thing in the police vehicle, and yeah, so tell me, all looking at citizens and checking for guns and ammunition. So who is checking the police vehicle when they are transporting guns and ammunition?
I remember an incident like that some time ago. The officers were suspended, utilizing, of course, a police vehicle, but another police vehicle was suspicious because they didn't stop one, and their colleague in the suspect vehicle were operating outside their jurisdiction. So they stopped them, and of course they had to search, and then they found, of course, a stash of drugs, and
so
suspension
we
ensued.
Need some people like the CIA and FBI in Trinidad to investigate these kind of things that are going on in this country.
Yeah.
So we need a little piece of the FBI agency in Trinidad to investigate all this little corruption in the army and all this other nonsense.
Yeah, but I'll
so
tell
you
you something.
you do a clean sweep from the side.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something. That has been tried already, and the same police frustrated those other police that came in to investigate because they have things to hide, and even though the political directorate was the intent was to discover and eliminate rogue elements in the police, those same persons who have senior positions in the service and have something to protect or to hide didn't allow them to function. They had was a hightail out of here. I remember, of course, the Canadian Commissioner of Police, for example, he had to hightail out. Go ahead.
And next thing, word on the ground. All them ship and things with us be coming in with visitors and things that landing in the port there, all them tourists and things. It has half people line up there to know where these people did to go and get a little thing that they want to feel nice. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, a human
trafficking. There's half people line up in the port, they know even where to know that they even know, no, the drugs. They even know where to go and get it on which street and whatever.
Oh, right, okay. I thought you were talking about human trafficking. Because people has gone getting to by virtue of human trafficking. They're looking for flesh.
This thing real big in this country. What's the man? I will tell you some things off the air, but not on the air.
Yeah, go ahead. All right.
Yeah, it is really ridiculous. You think they could put a stop on crime on this drug thing? America is doing the good thing outside there by getting rid of all
they're doing the work that we supposed to be doing, one, and two, because of the issues that you just raised, among them, lack of resources as well. So they're doing what we were supposed to do, and therefore Kamala Prasad Bisesa has, the Honorable Prime Minister, has encouraged it. And here it is, of course, you have persons in and out of Trinidad, including, of course, her colleagues in CARICOM, are opposed to it. And, well, to hell with them.
Because all who are opposed to it, they were in bed with the PNM.
That's clearly
10 years ago, if we had a U.S. submarine, none of these things would have been so out of hand that to put a clamp on it now is very hard.
Yeah, so you're on the right course, and your assessment is beautiful.
To put a clamp on it. So we have to blame the PNM that they was not doing their job outside there for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? They encourage a lot of things illegally in this country. That this country in a mess right now, that these people, and look how much already Kamala have to send back and everybody's kicking against it, but people eye closed. They can't see what the PNM did to this country. That they could only see one side.
Yeah. All right, so that's it.
Yeah, Lennox, good
All right.
night and blessings.
Yeah, same to you, my dear. Same to you, same to you. Call back anytime.
Tell
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Of course. I thought she raised a very salient point there once again. And of course, you have a very sagacious and a very eruditic callers who, of course, are very knowledgeable, and we have to acknowledge that. So maybe I have searched for it while she was speaking, and I think this will put things in perspective. Who would guard the guard? Because, of course, if we have rogue officers managing the upper echelons of the police service in Trinidad and Tobago, then we are in dire straits. Because, of course, it means that, therefore, the rule of law and the principles of integrity and honesty certainly would have been thrown out the door. And as some people would say, you throw the baby out with the bath water and the bathtub itself. But let's hear what King Austin had to say about that.
Within every system, there are rules and laws, and those who enforce them, obviously because love in the hierarchy is non-significant. So we find it necessary and highly important to gather our civil rights and surround this world. Just a few big filtered knights who got full control. But if it is we fear to trust and guardians be to protect us, question for the lads who went to guard these guards. The armies, navies and air forces, look the KGBs and the petty bosses, CIAs and Scotland Yards who went to guard these guards. The chiefs of security must be in a quandary. This question is the hardest of hearts. Who went to guard these guards?
All right, okay, of course, I know that that's an enticement, but of course, we have to complete the program. We have to finish that particular video. I know that you almost settled to hear the entire piece that was predicted, or a kind of what I consider to be philosophical and behavioral commentary. Who would guard the guard? And of course, the caller clearly has expressed a concern with respect, of course, to our law enforcement agencies. And we are seeing that unfolding, of course, in the present circumstance with a commissioner of police who clearly is committed by conduct and actions and utterances to treat with that matter. Right? But of course, there are others who are of the view that the devil cannot correct sin. That's a topic for another time. But of course, as I said, the Trinidad and Tobago over the years, and I, as a young lad, would have looked at that and to say, well, but Trinidad and Tobago, the third richest country in the Western Hemisphere, per capita, of course, because we have the money that we get shared among the people is substantial. I think is over, I don't even want to fathom, I guess, at this point in time, but a substantial amount if we were to share the monies that we get among the population equally. But the fact of the matter is that we have been able to reach that position because of a God-blessed resources. And over the years, let's face it, our people have been very creative and innovative. And of course, we moved from oil dependency economy to one of gas. And even though gas fetch and was, of course, being flared, being burnt out, we found a way, of course, to convert it and monetize it in such a way that we have become, of course, a major player. We have seen at one time, of course, save for shale gas discovery in the United States, that we at one time was supplying something like 49% of the gas that they would need for in winter, because you know United States basically is a four-seasoned, say geographic space where they have, of course, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Winter, of course, is the coldest period, and they would need, of course, a lot of natural gas to, of course, keep themselves warm. And so Trinidad and Tobago provided that at one time, up to 49%. And now that, of course, Trinidad and Tobago has been caught into the maelstrom of geopolitical realities, because, of course, as you know, Russia is a major supplier, and, of course, Europe has said, well, they don't want any of their gas because that is causing them, ironically, to fuel the war machinery that Russia has unleashed on the Ukraine, and the possibility that that war machinery may well reach the doorsteps of Europe proper, whether it be Germany, France, Italy, and all the other nations that comprise the European continent, including, of course, Scandinavia and, in other words, the Scandinavian countries, that includes, of course, places like Norway. Yes, places like Norway, not Belarus, but Latvia, and those former Soviet bloc countries that, of course, have joined NATO as a consequence of the breaking up of the Soviet Union. But enough of that. But the point I am making, that this piece suggests that Trinidad and Tobago, whether advertently, whether deliberately or otherwise, but the fact is that we have found ourselves on the crossways, or at the crossways of the let's say, across the Atlantic, and, of course, a gateway to the South America, and vice versa, of course, from South America to North America, because of where we are strategically located. And whether it was planned or not, the fact of the matter is that we have been extremely fortunate, and I thought this will put things in perspective so that we better appreciate Trinidad and Tobago, but more importantly, we discard and we renounce and reject those who have come into decision-making positions in this country and look to exploit that which was given to us, and which we should have been utilizing to such a degree that we should have been much more advanced. Listen to this, and you'll get the perspective that I am looking at, and I believe that all of us should know.
What if everything you know about global power politics is a lie? What if, while the world is obsessed with wars in Europe and the Middle East, the most cunning and sophisticated political game is being played not by a superpower, but by a tiny two-island nation in the Caribbean? And what if one of the most powerful men on the planet just stood up and exposed the entire scheme for the world to see? Recently, Donald Trump made a series of statements that have sent shockwaves through international corridors of power. He didn't focus on China or Russia. He pointed directly to Trinidad and Tobago, and what he revealed wasn't a story of a struggling economy or a passive victim of global forces. He exposed a brilliant, decades-long, and incredibly controversial political master plan that has allowed Trinidad to puppet master the entire Caribbean and manipulate superpowers to its will. This isn't a story about oil wealth. This is a story about a level of geopolitical genius and ruthless strategy that stuns the world once it's understood. What you are about to learn will shatter your perception of how global influence truly works. The first pillar of Trinidad's exposed political game is the strategic neutrality and calculated dependency doctrine. This approach is not just a passive stance, but a deliberate and sophisticated strategy that has been honed over years of careful observation and adaptation to global power shifts. On the surface, Trinidad presents itself as a neutral, friendly Caribbean nation, a reliable partner to all. Its image is one of openness, hospitality, and non-alignment, making it appear as a safe haven for international diplomacy and business. But this perceived neutrality is a carefully constructed and weaponized facade. Behind closed doors, Trinidad's leaders are acutely aware of the leverage their nation holds, and they use it with precision. The reality is that Trinidad has masterfully made itself strategically dependent to the world's major powers, but on its own terms. It has woven itself into the fabric of global energy and diplomacy, ensuring that its interests are always at the table. Its most powerful political tool is its liquefied natural gas infrastructure. This network is not just an economic asset, but a geopolitical weapon, giving Trinidad influence far beyond its size. Recognizing its declining domestic gas production, Trinidad didn't panic. Instead, it saw an opportunity to reinvent its role in the global energy market, leveraging its existing infrastructure and expertise. Instead, it positioned itself as the only viable solution to two major geopolitical problems simultaneously. Trinidad became the linchpin in a complex web of energy politics, connecting adversaries and allies alike. For the United States, Trinidad is the only politically palatable hub to process and monetize the massive natural gas reserves of sanctioned Venezuela, a key strategic goal for Washington in weakening the Maduro regime and supplying Europe. Without Trinidad, the U.S. would struggle to find a legitimate pathway to tap into Venezuela's resources without violating its own sanctions. For Europe, Trinidad is a critical, non-Russian source of LNG to ensure energy security. As Europe scrambles to diversify away from Russian gas, Trinidad's role as a stable supplier has become even more essential, especially in times of crisis. By being the indispensable bridge for these two colossal geopolitical objectives, Trinidad has made the US and the EU dependent on its cooperation. This dependency is not accidental. It is the result of years of strategic planning and diplomatic maneuvering. This is not true neutrality. It is the strategic cultivation of dependency. Trinidad's leaders have mastered the art of appearing impartial while quietly pulling the strings behind the scenes. Trinidad's government can now negotiate from a position of immense strength, extracting concessions, sanctions, waivers, and political support, because it holds the keys to a lock that neither Washington nor Brussels can pick on their own. This leverage allows Trinidad to punch far above its weight on the world stage. They have turned their nation into a geopolitical utility so vital that challenging them carries an unacceptably high cost for the world's most powerful nations. In this high-stakes game, Trinidad's strategic neutrality is not just a shield, it's a sword, wielded with remarkable skill and foresight. Why is this political game so controversial and honestly so stunning? Well, it's because it inverts the entire traditional model of power. Small nations are not supposed to have this kind of leverage. They are supposed to be swayed by superpower pressure. Trinidad's policy reveals that in a complex, interconnected world, the provider of an essential niche service can wield power far greater than its size or military might would ever suggest. The controversy really lies in the sheer audacity of the play. While other nations beg for investment or military protection, Trinidad has quietly built a system where superpowers must come to it and must play by its rules to achieve their own vital goals. It's a form of political jiu-jitsu, using the weight of superpower ambition against them to guarantee its own sovereignty and prosperity. The world is stunned, honestly, because they are witnessing a masterclass in asymmetric power politics, executed flawlessly by a nation everyone underestimated. The second, and even more brilliant pillar of Trinidad's game is the economic gateway and financial choke point strategy. This is a masterstroke that goes far beyond simply leveraging natural resources or energy exports. Instead, it's about fundamentally reshaping the region's economic landscape, placing Trinidad at the very heart of Caribbean and Latin American commerce. While the energy policy secures Trinidad's present, its long-term political power comes from its deliberate transformation into the unassailable financial and logistical gateway to the entire Caribbean and Latin American region. By positioning itself at the crossroads of major shipping lanes and air routes, Trinidad is ensuring that it becomes the essential link for trade, investment, and decision-making across the hemisphere. The government has quietly been building a fortress of economic influence. Through a series of strategic reforms and targeted investments, it has laid the groundwork for a future where Trinidad is indispensable to regional prosperity. It has strengthened its financial services sector, upgraded its port infrastructure, and invested heavily in digital connectivity and logistics. These moves are designed to attract not just regional, but global players seeking a reliable base of operations. Trinidad has positioned itself as the stable, English-speaking, legally reliable hub for the massive capital flowing into the broader region. Its regulatory environment is transparent, its legal system robust, and its workforce highly skilled, making it the natural choice for international business. This is not an accident. It is a cold, calculated political policy. Every move is intentional, designed to maximize leverage and minimize risk. As Guyana experiences its explosive, chaotic oil boom, Trinidad is positioning itself to be the calm, sophisticated, and stable banker. While others chase the rush, Trinidad offers the security and expertise that investors crave. International corporations and investors who want a piece of the Guyanese or Surinamese boom, but are wary of the operational risks and nascent institutions, are encouraged to set up their regional headquarters in Trinidad. Here, they find a gateway to opportunity, but also a shield against volatility. The money, the contracts, the executive decisions, all flow through Port of Spain. Boardrooms buzz with activity as deals are brokered and fortunes are made, all under the watchful eye of Trinidad's regulatory authorities. This gives Trinidad an unprecedented level of soft power and intelligence. It becomes the region's information broker, privy to the most sensitive economic data and trends. It knows where the money is going, who is making the deals, and how the regional economy is functioning at a granular level. This insight allows Trinidad to anticipate shifts, influence outcomes, and maintain its edge. This transforms Trinidad from a simple participant in the regional economy into its central nervous system. Every transaction, every investment, every strategic move is processed through its networks. It creates an economic choke point. To do business efficiently in the new Caribbean, you must go through Trinidad. In this way, Trinidad has not just secured its future, it has made itself the indispensable gateway to the region's prosperity. Why is this political strategy so controversial and at the same time so devastatingly effective? The answer lies in its subtlety and sophistication, its ability to reshape the region's future without ever appearing overtly aggressive. This is a form of economic domination, cleverly disguised as partnership and mutual benefit. On the surface, it looks like cooperation, but beneath, it's a calculated move to secure long-term leverage. While Guyana grabs the headlines for its massive oil discoveries, Trinidad is quietly building the infrastructure and financial networks that will ultimately control the flow, processing, and profits of that oil. The development that oil is supposed to fund is now tied to Trinidad's decisions. This policy doesn't just create influence, it forges a deep, unshakable grip on the region's economic future, one that is difficult to challenge or undo. There's no need for military threats, no need for overt political strong-arming. The power is exercised quietly, almost invisibly. By making Trinidad the most convenient, secure, and efficient hub for energy and finance, the strategy ensures that bypassing Trinidad is not just difficult, it's economically irrational for any serious player in the region. The real controversy lies in the quiet, relentless accumulation of this gatekeeper power. It's not about loud declarations, but about steady, strategic moves. This approach allows Trinidad to shape the direction of regional development, influence political outcomes in neighboring states by directing investment, and cement its role as the indispensable capital of the Caribbean for the 21st century, all without firing a single shot or raising a single flag. The world is only now waking up to the reality. While everyone was watching the oil rigs rise in Guyana, Trinidad was quietly building the boardroom, the networks, and the systems that will ultimately control the region's oil profits and, by extension, its future. Trump's exposure of this game is, honestly, a watershed moment. It reveals that the real political genius in the Americas isn't in Brasilia or Mexico City, but in Port of Spain. Trinidad hasn't just been participating in global politics, it has been quietly rewriting the rules, proving that in the modern world the most powerful player isn't always the one with the biggest army, but, you know, the one who controls the most critical choke points. What you've just seen is more than a political analysis. It's really a revelation of the hidden mechanics of global power. Understanding these sophisticated strategies is what allows you to see the true forces shaping our world, far beyond the headlines and the talking heads. As we look to the future, Trinidad's bold geopolitical strategies are reshaping not only its own destiny, but also the dynamics of the entire region. The choices made today, balancing powerful alliances, leveraging economic gateways, and maintaining strategic neutrality, set the stage for unprecedented opportunities and challenges. Stock footage rolls across bustling ports, busy financial districts, and diplomatic meetings. We see animated maps highlighting trade routes and energy corridors, underscoring Trinidad's growing influence. With every calculated move, Trinidad positions itself as a pivotal player in global affairs. But as the world evolves, so too must its strategies. Will Trinidad continue to adapt and thrive? Or will new pressures force a change in direction? Only time will tell.
You're going to hear a lot about where we intend to carry Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, indeed, people. I know that it's an eye-opener. I know that it has set people thinking. And that is what, if that was achieved tonight, then, of course, I would have done what the objective of playing that particular video was intended to do. Open up, because the government of today, and let me put things in perspective, because I don't want it to be said that I am what I consider to be boxing to a particular administration, because that could not have achieved in just over 100 days of the present administration. But certainly, the UNC was in power as well between 2010 and 2015. But in between there, the PNM would have been in office. So, to whom must this giant, this ability by virtue of internal activities and development, to whom credit must be given for expanding that ostensibly in the interest of the people and the country, projecting it to other regional and international players, and of course nation states. To whom? Well, I want to say successive administration from Eric Williams come right back down to the present one. But here is what? The difference between the PNM and the UNC in this evolutionary process to see Trinidad and Tobago as a natural strategic partner, as a nation capable of leveraging its position and the resources that it has and the infrastructure that it would have built as far as the energy and contribution to regional, hemispheric, and international energy security and supply is concerned. Having regard, of course, to the geopolitical, what I consider the maelstrom at work. I'm talking about, of course, the war between Russia and Ukraine that has disrupted the energy, what I consider to be ability, the energy flow of the world for obvious development of the various countries of the world. The difference between the PNM's approach and that of the UNC is as clear as when night gives way to day and vice versa. What do I mean? Because the PNM apologists will certainly say, well, Lennox, you are contradicting, or you are contradictory. Because if everybody played a part to have Trinidad and Tobago positioned in this way, recognized, of course, and culminated in that particular video that was narrative, I think, excellently, to give the reality of Trinidad and Tobago over the years, and of course, and I'm saying so against the background of the massive reinvention or the development plan for Trinidad and Tobago, massive, far-reaching and visionary by the present administration. How could you say, Lennox, there is a difference between the PNM's approach and that of the present administration and the UNC in particular when it would have been in government, whether under Pandey, under Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and again under Kamala Persad-Bissessar? How could you make the difference? Well, it's very simple. Over the years, when the PNM became, of course, managers of the affairs of Trinidad and Tobago, we see because of the country's natural resources, as somebody said, we experienced about 4 oil boom. It wasn't because of what we initiated, but because of international circumstance, whether it be increase in oil prices, and of course we would benefit from that because we are price taker, as of course OPEC and others at the apex of course price determination, and of course the interplay between energy consumer countries and that of producers, Middle East and Trinidad and Tobago being among them. The difference is this, that when these issues come into play and the leaders make their decisions over the years to invite investors to develop our gas, oil, and petrochemical industries, the PNM consistently, particularly in recent time, merely utilize, exploit in an extremely profligated way and with a deep sense of betrayal of the people, utilizing the resources, building this, building that, but with no independent, serious diversification, because they were there before. They were there longer than everybody else. Who was supposed to diversify our economy would have been the PNM, obviously. But when they get the monies, they then engage, of course, in self-aggrandizement, and they utilize it for friends and family, nepotism, and, of course, engage in a policy of what? A policy of mediocrity, and they did not take the best because they want to stay in office, and that is and was, of course, the ethos, the raison d'etre for their existence. They must always be in office, so they will put, of course, persons who are square pegs in wrong hole, and they therefore can't manage, and therefore does not bring to fruition the optimum utilization of the windfalls that they would have gotten from oil, gas, and petrochemical as a consequence of global circumstance external to us, we being not an influencer but a beneficiary thereof, and brought into and would bring into the country, of course, a healthy stock of foreign exchange into the treasury of this country. And what the PNM do, they then, of course, empty it with, of course, vanity and other projects that are self-aggrandizing, and, of course, engage, of course, in nepotism, cronyism, and, of course, the utilizing of the resources that at the end of the day, as we have seen between 2015 and, of course, the 28th of April, when, of course, as a typical exemplification of that fact, it happened under Manning as well, is that they started off with over $12 billion US dollars in 2015, and by the time they demit office appropriately and, of course, deservingly on the 28th of April of this year, we had a mere $4 billion. $4 billion and no diversification. it is left now to the UNC to, of course, engage. So while, of course, by the force of nature, our strategic location, God-given resources that naturally, I like to describe this situation with one analogy. It's something like a gas station or an insurance company, a vehicle insurance company. You can't help but make money. Every vehicle by law must be insured. So insurance companies would be bursting at the seam. Because of the plethora of vehicles and the need for energy to propel their respective engines, they'll have to go to gas stations. So you can't help but make money. And Trinidad and Tobago as a country, because of the commodity that we have for export, oil, gas, and petrochemical, we can't help but make money. The problem here is how you utilize the money to augment and to increase the money and, of course, diversify the income source so that you don't become totally reliant on that which naturally would have bring the original capital that you ought, as a responsible government, to diversify into, whether it be agriculture, whether it be tourism, or whether it be, of course, the intellectual property aspect in terms of course, our culture, whether it's calypso, dance, whether it be, of course, carnival, etc., and the exporting thereof in order to, by way of a packaged product, in order, of course, to augment it, to bring, and of course, we cannot leave out the private industrial sector. That's what we are talking about. And the PNM has failed in that regard. The UNC, of course, as we have seen in its program, as it unveiled recently at the Diplomatic Center, it is now called, of course, the Delivery Center, like that. A comprehensive plan, futuristic. Because, as I said earlier, what is now futuristic and presented by the UNC under, of course, the venerable and the tenacious Kamala Prasad Bisesa Honorable, should have been in place long before, so that today it would have been always it would have been a foundation upon which to build, so that you become, of course, the Dubai of the West or the Singapore of the West. But no, the PNM kept us in a state of retrogression in spite of the natural resource that we have, and the financial gains that we would have massively acquired over the years. So it's important. So that's the big difference. And so we expect going into the future that no longer will be a PNM, because we have a conscious population that understand that, of course, the PNM is the bane, is the detriment, is the existential threat now and then to, of course, the advancement of Trinidad and Tobago. Why? Because they believe that somehow Trinidad and Tobago belong to them. That is why. And that's a fallacy, as I've always said, that if it is that you believe that Trinidad and Tobago belongs to the PNM, then, of course, and you believe that somehow Equilibrium bequeathed to these nincompoops, that, of course, are myopic, are dunderheaded, are obtuse, and visionless, and creativeless, and can't step out the box. Imagine, I heard recently, of course, that Ibsbert is saying something to the extent or to the degree. I think it was about the proposed sales tax or some other issue. Don't hold me to it. I can't recall firmly at this point, but I think the message or the lesson is clear. He is saying that it is not the process. It's not the right way. He's so stupid. He cannot think because they are in a state of paradigm paralysis and believe that because the PNM did it this way and that there is much more benefit to be derived by doing it another way, they cannot see that that new approach will be better off for Trinidad and Tobago because they were set in their ways and therefore in a state of almost perpetual, even in opposition, paradigm paralysis. Paradigm paralysis. That is what they and therefore with that level of myopia, that level of consistent belief that is the PNM way. So of course we have seen it in their policy when they tax the hell out of ordinary people, in particular householders, and don't give back anything, but take. I believe that is the way, of course, that they will be able to pay salaries, etc. But they tax the country into a state of what I consider to be paralysis. State of paralysis, economic and otherwise. If we didn't take charge and did not, of course, make the decision as the population did appropriately on the 28th of April. Property tax. You have a new authority. Procurement legislation to exclude them. And of course, the provision of a measure with parliamentary coverage where Rowley and Imbert and them invest in, of course, apartment buildings. Rowley is, of course, in Tobago, Imbert in Trinidad, and, of course, Alwari and others, where for 25 years they will pay no tax. That is the level of self-serving policies and programs that could not have been countenanced and is not sustainable and could not have lasted when the population would have seen clearly with the yampi removed from their eyes that these people are not patriotic but are self-serving. And in the fullness of time, they will feel the wrath of the people by virtue of the criminal and civil justice system. So if, of course, by debt, that conspiratous propensity, proclivity, and tendency, the former chairman, deceased of Petrotrin, he got away by way of debt. Literal debt, physical debt. They, so long as that they are on the face of this earth and in Trinidad and Tobago and thereabout, is a small world, they will have to pay the price. Will have to pay the price. So people, we have come to the end, of course. It's nearing 10 o'clock. And of course, I gave you back your 15 minutes or so that we lost. So, of course, see you tomorrow morning on the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself, as we continue with these and other issues. And, of course, don't forget tomorrow night is my night off. So I will see you on Saturday when, of course, we'll get the kids to be part and parcel of the whole process, because we have to start there. You see, what we are doing here is deliberate. We have a cadre of young people who have already been sucked into the vortex of crime and criminality and the glorification thereof. And there's another group, a subgroup inside of there that are actually engaged. Some are sucked in and some are engaged. But the sucked in ones, of course, not yet engaged, but have the real potential to engage. We have to deal with that. And then we have to deal with that grouping that is coming up and watching what is happening. And eventually we'll have to make a decision because they're getting mature. And of course, at the fullness of time, we will graduate it according to, of course, ages. So you have a better understanding as to what age group I am referring to as opposed to another age group. And so those that we have on air right now on a Saturday and other programs you would see are those who are not yet, they are still innocent. And we need to keep them innocent in the context of not gravitating to a life of crime and criminality via, of course, what? Yes, gangs and the alluring and the enticing thereto, particularly and specifically in communities along the east-west corridor, from Kainaj in the west right up to Toko in the east, and everything in between. A mammoth task, yes. And some people may say, but Smith, you pie in the sky, thinking that will never happen. Well, I say that that is a fatalistic talk. I believe in existentialism, which simply put means that human intervention and with the right formula, we will reduce at minimum, if not eliminate, and make Trinidad and Tobago what? A more peaceful, a more congenial, but more importantly, a more prosperous place. Because all of that is intended to do what? To make young people, when they would have become adults and making their contribution to national development, creative, industrious, law-abiding, and indeed engage in a lifetime of edification in the interests of their country, called the Trinidad and the Tobago. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And see you, of course, on Saturday night. But of course, before that, tomorrow morning, on the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself. Let us, of course, I think we should end with, instead of talking poverty talk, we should talk about King Austin, who will guard the guard.
What if everything you know about global power politics is a lie? What if while the world is obsessed with wars in Europe and the Middle East, the most cunning and sophisticated political game is being played not by a superpower, but by a tiny two-island nation in the Caribbean? And what if one of the most powerful men on the planet just stood up and exposed the entire scheme for the world to see? Recently, Donald Trump made a series of statements that have sent shockwaves through international corridors of power. He didn't focus on China or Russia. He pointed directly to Trinidad and Tobago, and what he revealed wasn't a story of a struggling economy or a passive victim of global forces. He exposed a brilliant, decades-long, and incredibly controversial political master plan that has allowed Trinidad to puppet master the entire Caribbean and manipulate superpowers to its will. This isn't a story about oil wealth. This is a story about a level of geopolitical genius and ruthless strategy that stuns the world once it's understood. What you are about to learn will shatter your perception of how global influence truly works. The first pillar of Trinidad's exposed political game is the strategic neutrality and calculated dependency doctrine. This approach is not just a passive stance, but a deliberate and sophisticated strategy that has been honed over years of careful observation and adaptation to global power shifts. On the surface, Trinidad presents itself as a neutral, friendly Caribbean nation, a reliable partner to all. Its image is one of openness, hospitality, and non-alignment, making it appear as a safe haven for international diplomacy and business. But this